Lights are off in here. Hello out there. We're on the air. Are we ever? Should we turn the lights on? I don't know. I kind of like this look, actually. What a beautiful day. Happy Friday, everybody. It is a beautiful day, a beautiful morning. I can't even begin to tell you how good of a mood I'm in right now. I don't even know why, to be honest with you. Sun shining finally after a week of darkness. Let there be light. Welcome to the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This is actionable and this is logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. This is the 22nd edition of Bitcoin Q&A. This one's titled Roaring Biddy. I'm sure everybody's heard that there's some sort of live stream happening today. I don't know what the big deal with that guy is. He seems like kind of a dweeb, to be honest with you. Okay, I got to turn the lights on here. There you go. I do wear pants. I do wear pants. Okay, we're live. Let's go. We got Bitcoin Q&A today. That means we're going to be taking questions from the chat. I'm going to be doing things a little bit different today. Different than usual. Because I'm going to be focused mostly on, I have about 10 questions to get through, which is much more than usual. So I'm going to only be taking questions from zap.stream today. For the most part, if I see something on YouTube that catches my eye, but for the most part, I'm going to be paying attention to mostly zap.stream. So if you do have a question, if you have anything you want to discuss, make sure you go over to zap.stream. You can easily do it. You just type into your browser zap.stream. Head over there. We'll meet you there. Or you can go to bitcoinjourney.ca/stream. So if you're just here to listen, then you can stay on YouTube. But if you want to have anything discussed, if you got any questions, any burning questions on your mind, make sure you get over to zap.stream. Because I can only see so much, and I really want to put an emphasis on zap.stream. So that's what we're going to do. Kev, if Roaring Kitty gets kicked from E-Trade, I wonder if he'll get into Bitcoin. I was thinking the same, and that's kind of what we're going to start the show with today. But over in Zap.stream, we got Crypto Heathen, we got Daniel, Letha, Silver Fox, and Fiat Jaff. I don't know if that's the real Fiat Jaff, because there's about 100 different people with the name Fiat Jaff on nostr right now. In support of the creator of nostr, Fiat Jaff himself. He was doxxed yesterday by the Business Insider. Made him look like a far right-wing conspiracy theorist, just like me. Just like me. Daniel is in the house. I see Daniel is here, and Daniel has also zapped over in zap.stream. Zap. I think we're going to I want to set a new record today in zap.stream for a number of sats zapped all time in here. That's the goal for today. And I was looking at my hoodie before the show, and I was actually going to call the new goal for the day a new hoodie, because I realized that my hoodie's coming apart. Like badly. So I don't know. I mean, I'm a pretty frugal guy for the most part. I either wear King Golf stuff or clothes from Value Village, secondhand clothes. But at some point, you got to throw it out. So I don't know how many days this hoodie's been through a lot. It's probably like 3 years old. It was one of the first hoodies we had. But I just love how comfy it is. So I'm going to keep wearing it, but maybe not on live streams. Jason, good morning. I saw Jason and Daniel over in Nolan's stream this morning. I was hanging out in the comments for a little while there, checking him out. Silver Fox says, hey, Jor, how do I connect a Lightning wallet to the zap.stream account? I'm pretty sure you have to use Alby. That's what I use, getalby.com. Pretty easy to do, I think, for the most part, but Crypto Heathen is over here. Silver Fox, they're in both chats, which is the best kind of people. Brendan, I don't know what that means. Reckless Ray, De Niro, one of the best names in the chat. Good morning, Matt. Muslim Bitcoiner says, if you're holding GameStop or AMC, I don't know if I should warn you or congrats to you, but you do you. It's a good way to put it. AC, good morning. Fikret, good morning. Just a reminder for anybody who might be showing up late to the party here. This is Bitcoin Q&A, episode number 22, the 22nd version of this show, where I got 10 questions here to go through, and I'm going to be taking questions and discussions specifically from zap.stream today. So if you have a question, get onto zap.stream, throw it in there. Muslim Bitcoiner says you just came from the breakup and now here. Cheers. Okay, well, let's start the show here because I don't even have my list of stuff to talk about. Uh-oh. I left it in the living room. Okay, well, I don't know what to do right now. The last thing we should do, though, is panic. What is my best play here? Thankfully, I put most of them in this question thing here. So let's kick things off with the metrics like we always do quickly, because we got some stuff to talk about in metric land. Have you seen fees? Have you seen the fees? We are currently sitting at block height 846,891. And if you're transacting on the layer one, God help you, 250 sats per VByte right now. I don't know why, but whenever these blocks, the mempool, whenever these blocks on the left side, this is known as the mempool over here. Every time you send a Bitcoin transaction on layer one, it goes into the mempool over here. And until you set your fee high enough, it'll stay in the mempool. So anybody trying to get into the next block, anybody trying to get their Bitcoin transaction into the next block is going to be paying at least 260 sats per VByte. So do not be sending Bitcoin right now. Do not. Hold off. And this is exactly why we talk about Lightning, Liquid, eCash. And we've had about a couple months or more of very low fees. And this is why. This is exactly why. If you wanted to send some Bitcoin today, if you had to send Bitcoin, it would be pretty expensive. Metrics today. So I had 159. I don't know if that's right or not. This has got to be at least 250. Price today, 71,000 something. 685 here, but I think it's, I saw a big crash this morning. So I don't know if it's still hovering there or not, but it doesn't matter much. 2023, 1 year ago today, you could have purchased a Bitcoin for 26,348 US dollars. And 4 years ago, you could have got one 9,700 bucks for one Bitcoin, 9,700 bucks. Moscow time today, $1 US will get you 1,404 sats. The price here in Canada today, we're almost at Moose Jaw time of 1,000, which means it will get to 100,000. But maybe today, we're currently at 97,331 Canadian dollars. So there's the metrics. There you go. I was listening to, in the shower today, I was listening to the Remember the Titans soundtrack. It's a Good Friday. It's a Good Friday soundtrack. Let me tell you my favorite songs here quickly from the album. Number one, I won't give them an order, but Act Naturally by Buck Owens. It's a good one. Spirit in the Sky's on there. Spill the Wine. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Peace Train. I think that's my favorite one by Cat Stevens. Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. I Want to Take You Higher. Up Around the Bend. And Na 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 Na. Hey Hey Hey. Goodbye. Best soundtrack ever. I was thinking about today. I wanted to start the show with a song. I want to, like, in a perfect world, I would start the show at about 8 o'clock, turn it on, turn a couple songs of the day on, and then get to it. But unfortunately, the way the internet works now, can't really do that. But I do foresee a day where we can hop on the zap.stream together. We can listen to a couple songs, and then we can talk about Bitcoin. Maybe the not so distant future. I see that Ted555 zapped 21 sats and Noah zapped 420 sats. Thank you. We're trying to set a new record in zap.stream this morning. So if you got a question or you just feel like hanging out or sending some sats over, get to zap.stream. Daniel says, if you're not a far right wing conspiracy theorist, you're not paying attention. That is true. And Crypto Ethan says, Robinhood halting trades the first go around with GameStop is exactly what led me to Bitcoin. Yeah, Daniel says a lot of crossover in the Wall Street Bets community and Bitcoiners. The same slang for one. So that's what we're going to start the show with today. We've got a bunch of questions to get through, but I wanted to start the show with talking about GameStop because it's what everybody's talking about today. So kind of my opinion on this, and I don't know, I had some notes on it, but I'll try my best to remember what I was going to talk about here. But with these shows, like I do the show every morning, and we watched a video on earlier in the week talking about a guy saying that there's really nobody trusts like the media, nobody trusts the scientists. People trust their favorite influencers. And that's what I want to talk about in regards to Roaring Kitty today. So the first thing there is that you should never take my advice with anything. You should never listen to what I say and assume that it's true. If you like watching the show, if you get entertained, if you learn some things here and there, I definitely don't want you to stop watching. But don't take my word for gospel. I always want you to verify things. Because, I mean, I get a lot of my stuff from the internet as well, and I could be lying about things. And not just me, but anybody you listen to online. Always make sure that don't let their opinion be your opinion. Take in what they have to say, verify for yourself, and then form your own opinion based on it. And Roaring Kitty, the guy from GameStop, is doing a live stream today. And I was thinking about it because if he came on there and he said, GameStop is done, they're going to shut us down, they're going to stop the trades, I want everybody to start buying Bitcoin. You know what would happen there? People would start buying Bitcoin in a very, very big way. But there's a problem with that because this is what would happen. I want you to think through this scenario there. It sounds great. It sounds like we'd have a bunch of new people coming in. The price would probably shoot up and we'd have a really good Friday. But I want you to think about exactly what would happen there. So we're at 71,000 bucks. If Roaring Kitty came on there and said, I want everybody to buy Bitcoin and we're going to screw the system that way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to buy Bitcoin. Instead of GameStop, we're done. That's run its course. We're going to buy Bitcoin. So everybody would go buy Bitcoin. Everybody would be rushing into the exchanges. They'd be trying to get as much as they can. Perfect. The price would go up. We might hit 100. We might hit 200,000, depending on how many people are buying, obviously. But then what? It gets to 100. It gets to 150. It gets to 200. All these people who just got into it today would sell, and it would crash right back down to 70,000 bucks. And what would happen then? Who would be buying that Bitcoin? BlackRock. So as good as that sounds in your head, a bunch of people rushing into Bitcoin, running the price up, they don't have any sort of conviction over Bitcoin. They don't know what they're holding. They have no idea what Bitcoin is. So once they see a bit of a price increase and a bit of profit, they sell it. And whenever they sell it, it goes straight to the BlackRock vacuum. So as good as that sounds, as good as that seems in your head, that's not what we want here. And that's why this is actually going to take quite a bit longer than I think that people really understand, because it's so easy to buy Bitcoin, but the hard part is to understand Bitcoin and actually have enough conviction to hold through those times. That's what keeps people here. And that's what the long-term view of this is. And that takes a while. Think about yourself. How long have you been in Bitcoin? How much time have you spent in Bitcoin? And how far along the curve are you in Bitcoin? It takes a very long time, not only just to get off of zero, but then to really understand Bitcoin, it takes a hell of a long time. Look at this. We got Silver Fox got his wallet set up. There you go. That happened pretty fast. Good on you. Zap 420 sats. And I see Microdose over in the chat as well. Zap 21 sats. Thank you, everybody. So that's kind of my theory on it. Just don't worry about it. It's all going to happen over time. It takes time though. Everything's proof of work, including people needing to buy Bitcoin, learn Bitcoin, and have conviction to hold through those times. Otherwise, everybody would just sell it and it would crash right back down and all that Bitcoin would go to BlackRock. That's not the best case scenario. And especially if you have no intention on selling your Bitcoin, you don't want that to happen. Dr. Gonzo says, legacy or Lambo? I think that's a quote from yesterday's show. Pretty sure I said that yesterday. It's true though. What do you want out of this whole thing? What do you want out of Bitcoin? Do you want to leave a legacy for your family and for their future families? Or do you just want to get more fiat and buy something stupid with it and nobody will ever remember you existed? Ninja says both. I mean, yeah. If you got enough of it, then I would never tell you not to. But that's not what we're here for. Okay, so we got a couple questions here. Do we have any news? Fuck, I don't have my notepad. I don't have my notebook. I'm completely lost without my notebook. You guys should see how many notebooks I have. So many. I'm an Amazon frequent notebook buyer. I don't think there's any news today. If there is, it couldn't have been that important. So let's start with this question. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions to get through. So the question here is from SSKA57. And the question is, given the fact that BlackRock and Fidelity work together, what do you think if they bought it to sell later in mass amount to drop its value and create an artificial bear effect on Bitcoin? I'm still learning about Bitcoin and I understand the limit, supply, and land example, but I can't help to think that knowing they only care for investment, not that accepting it as payment form like Texas University, what do you think? That's a very valid concern. I think a lot of people share that exact same concern. But you also have to keep in mind that you have to think things through here. So let's actually go down that road of BlackRock and Fidelity selling all of their Bitcoin, artificially crashing the price, and creating a new bear market. How would that benefit them? What would be the benefit there? Because we're 3 months into this, 3 or 4 months into the ETF, the ability for them to buy Bitcoin. Their clients are going crazy for it. We have countries all over the world who are now offering Bitcoin spot ETFs. And the scarcity aspect of it, the supply keeps going down and down and down. They're fighting like hell to get every single Bitcoin that they can right now. So what would benefit them by selling all of their Bitcoin and crashing the price after they've spent probably millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, educating themselves, reaching out to their clients, marketing Bitcoin, advertising the Bitcoin ETFs, only for it to go down and piss all their clients off? You have to keep in mind here that they have two focuses here. They want the price to be high. Eventually, they want the price to be high because they have unlimited amounts of capital. Their clients have unlimited amounts of capital. They do not care what the price is. So they want the price to be up because all of their fees, how they make money, is based on their total investment fund, right? So if they have $100 billion asset fund and they're getting 1% of that, wouldn't it be better if their asset fund was worth $200 billion and they got 1% of that? They want that fund to go up. They want the price of Bitcoin to go up. And their second concern is having enough supply. They need enough Bitcoin to sell to their clients, and they can continue raking these fees in, 1% fees. So they don't want the price to go down, and they don't want to sell their Bitcoin. So I just don't see, I mean, I think that a lot of people are hoping that, not hoping, but that's what they see in their mind, is that they think that BlackRock hopes Bitcoin goes away. They've fully embraced this. They're not only fully embraced it, they're obsessed with Bitcoin right now. We're on the 18th day. I remember this from my notes this morning. We're on the 18th day in a row of inflows, which is a new record for the ETFs. I think it was, I forget how much it was. I'm not even going to try to guess, but a lot. They're obsessed with Bitcoin. There's no way they're going to be selling it to crash the price. Okay, let's move over to, so that's the first question there. No, that is not a concern of mine that they're going to artificially create a bear market here. Silver Fox says, go get your notebook. I mean, I probably could, but at the same time, I have all my questions here on the screen. So we'll get through it. Silver Fox says, Jordan, do you think when the exchanges are dry, us retailer buyers will not be able to get a hold of any sats as the exchanges will prioritize BlackRock? Yeah, BlackRock's not buying their Bitcoin on the exchanges. They're buying their Bitcoin from Grayscale, the mining companies, or over-the-counter companies, over-the-counter exchanges. So BlackRock's not buying their Bitcoin from ShakePay or Bull Bitcoin, maybe Coinbase. So it really depends where you are. But I don't think that that's a big concern, is that they're going to dry up. There's always going to be sellers in Bitcoin, always. You have to think about when people buy Bitcoin, what their entry point is and what their average cost is. Some people have an average cost of Bitcoin of like $1,000. So $70,000 looks pretty damn good to them. Some people have an average cost of $65,000. Maybe they just got into it last month. So they're going to wait a little bit longer for the price to go up before they sell any of it. So not everybody got in at the same time. There's always going to be people who are turning a big profit off of Bitcoin. So there's always going to be sellers. But at the pace that we're on right now, I think it was yesterday where we had the ETFs bought up the entire month of supply of Bitcoin in one day. So eventually, like the big amounts, the thousands of Bitcoin will dry up. Because if you think about where BlackRock and these ETFs are getting their Bitcoin from, they don't have, it's not like there's 1,000 people selling one Bitcoin each on the exchanges to BlackRock. They're buying their Bitcoin from Grayscale, from the Bitcoin mining companies, and from over-the-counter exchanges. Rick Costa's in the chat. Good morning, my friend. Sorry I'm late. That's okay. Smash the like button. How are we doing for that? We're trying to set a new record for likes today and zaps today, but more importantly, zaps, because likes don't really have any sort of value for them, but we still appreciate it. So that's the first question there. My path to fire just zapped 200 sats. We're buzzing over there right now in the zap.stream. Thank you, my friend. Okay, let's get to the next question here. Musabi. I forget what video this was from, but they said, are you saying that we shouldn't buy KYC Bitcoin and that they can prevent us in one way or another from selling it? So I don't know what the video was or what the context was there, but that's not what I would suggest. You should be, in terms of non-KYC and KYC Bitcoin, you should obviously be taking every opportunity to buy non-KYC Bitcoin that you can. There's plenty of different options for you out there. There's BISC, there's HODL, there's RoboSats. You can just find a community of Bitcoiners like our Living in the Future community. Find communities like that and networks like that, where if somebody wants to buy Bitcoin, you can just sell it back and forth to each other. Somebody needs some cash for a big weekend. They want to sell a bit of Bitcoin, throw it in the chat, gone. That's how you buy and sell non-KYC Bitcoin. But I don't think that should be the end all be all for you. I would definitely avoid keeping your Bitcoin on the exchanges for sure. And I'm sure most people are aware of that, but just in case. And the other part too there is the ETFs. I think that those are kind of going to be the two things, the lowest hanging fruit for any bad actors here that want to get your Bitcoin. They're going to come after the exchanges and they're going to come after the ETFs. So I wouldn't worry too much about buying non-KYC only Bitcoin. And the reason I say that is because I'm kind of under the opinion that regardless of how you got your Bitcoin, non-KYC or KYC, if somebody really wanted to find out that you had that Bitcoin, I think that they could. And I'm not a big technical guy. I don't know how the IP addresses work. I just know that for the most part, unless you're like the 0.00001% of private people, they're going to be able to tell that you have it. So the hard part, I think, will be actually keeping that Bitcoin in a place where if they did come to your house or if they did come after you, then they can't get it. And if you understand Bitcoin and if you take the right steps towards that, you can prevent them from actually getting your Bitcoin without torturing you to death. So we don't want that to happen, obviously, but instead of focusing too much on your non-KYC Bitcoin, focus on protecting any Bitcoin that you have in a way that if somebody came to your house tomorrow and knocked on the door and said, we know that you have half a Bitcoin, at that time it's worth 50 million per Bitcoin, then there's nothing they can do about it. Make sure you get to that point where even if they did show up at your door, there's nothing that they can do about it because it's either in here or it's very well protected somehow. And that could be with a passphrase. That could be with a multi-signature setup. That could be with memorizing 12 words or putting 12 words in a book. That's the idea that I had the other day. My book's gone. But you take a book, any book in your bookshelf, make sure that you know which book it is. And maybe every week at the same time, you go look at your book, just so you know what pages it's on, what book it is. Just build it as a habit. But anyways, take a book, every 20 pages, write down one word. Another 20 pages, write down the next word. I mean, we're thinking worst case scenario here, but you still do have to be fairly paranoid, I think. Noah says, I think the more we spend Bitcoin for daily transactions, the more we can relax about KYC versus non-KYC. It would get too complex for chain analysis to track that much data, AI notwithstanding. I agree with that. Like if Bitcoin does what we think it's going to do in terms of actually not only just a store of value, but a form of currency, and you're going to the store and you're buying a new shirt or a new hoodie, case of beer with your Bitcoin, we're going to get to that point eventually. There's going to be at least one person in your city or your town accepting Bitcoin for whatever you need. So just prepare for that. But when we get to that point, you have your Bitcoin on your cold card. Every month, maybe you send like 100,000 sats over to your wallet. You flush it through eCash, you flush it through Lightning, Liquid, whatever that is, you pay for it. There's absolutely no way that anybody's going to be able to track all that. I agree with Noah here. It's just not feasible. It's not. It'd be like the CRA or the IRS trying to track every single toonie you spend at Tim Hortons, or not Tim Hortons, screw Tim Hortons, McDonald's. They can't. It's not feasible. So if you keep things under your thresholds, if you prepare the best that you can in terms of being ready for that to happen, you're going to be fine. Just don't obsess over the non-KYC stuff. Get as much as you can of it, for sure. But don't not buy Bitcoin because it's KYC. That's what I would say on that. Okay, next question here. We'll take a quick one from the YouTube chat. Chico in the van, just because I love that name and logo. Says, so when they come after Bitcoin ETFs and they can't be self-custody, then what happens to the Bitcoin ETFs market? That's my theory on what's going to create the next Bitcoin bear market. Is that they're either going to come after the ETF holders and just seize it, say that we need to pay off our debt. We're in big trouble. Our government's going to fail unless we take this Bitcoin. So ETFs, lowest hanging fruit, exchanges, lowest hanging fruit, gone. And it'll create a huge crash. It'll be like FTX on steroids. But if you're ready for it, and if you understand Bitcoin, then you just wait another couple years. The halving comes around. Everybody wants Bitcoin again. People have learned their lesson now that they actually need to self-custody their Bitcoin. And this whole time you've had yours sitting in cold storage. You have the exact same amount of Bitcoin untouched. Yan Doer over in Zap.stream zapped 420 sats, and so did Zombie Jose. Thank you very much, fellas. I appreciate that. And good to see you, Yan, over in the Zap stream. There you go. Good to see. So there you have it. We're well on our way here. If you haven't yet, make sure to head over to Zap.stream, send a little zap, share some love, spread some love, leave a tip. It's funny, like you go to a restaurant, they make you a pita, and they ask you for a tip. Somebody comes to your table playing a guitar, they ask you for a tip. But you spend every morning for an hour and a bit watching a show that entertains you. I mean, I'm not going to ask for it, but if you feel like giving some, Zap.stream is the way to do it. And somebody actually left a nice super chat. I don't even know how to do that on YouTube. I don't even know how to access it, honestly. So it might just be in custody of YouTube now. I kind of tried to figure it out, but didn't get too far with it. So $13 for YouTube there, whoever sent the super chat last week. Okay, next question here. Okay, I'm trying to scroll here over on Zapstream, but it's kind of flaggy. Next question here. RDBJ Bush. There was a question, I forget what video this was on too. It might help if you had context here, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. The question was UTXO question mark. So in other words, very, very efficient way to ask, what is a UTXO? So a UTXO is an unspent transaction output. And it's very easy to get lost in the terminology and everything around it. I'll say a couple things on it. Number one is this is a very important part of Bitcoin. So if you're new to Bitcoin and you don't know what a UTXO is, learn what a UTXO is. Spend some time. There's a lot of videos on YouTube for free that goes over this stuff. It's very worth your time to learn what a UTXO is, because the idea there is you want to set yourself up now for it, for the future. You're planning for the future with the UTXO. So that's the first part, is make sure that regardless of what I'm about to say next, make sure you spend some time learning what the hell a UTXO is. But it's basically every time you send Bitcoin, you create one UTXO. That's the best way to think about it. So if you bought Bitcoin on the exchange, whichever exchange that you use, and you send that to your wallet, you have one UTXO in there for whatever amount you have. Then the next week you send another transaction to your wallet. That's one UTXO. Now within your wallet, you have two UTXOs. And the only time this is going to matter is when you go to spend that Bitcoin, because the more UTXOs you have in your wallet, the more it's going to cost you to spend it. It's all based on fees. So just think of every transaction, every Bitcoin transaction as a piece of data. And the more data, the larger amount of data that you have, the more it costs you. So it doesn't matter if it's 100 Bitcoin or 100,000 sats. It's still just one UTXO. So you could have a wallet with, I don't know what you want, how you'd say it, but you could have a wallet with like 10 Bitcoin in it, all made up of a whole bunch of different UTXOs, and you go to spend them. It doesn't matter if it's 10 Bitcoin, 100 Bitcoin, or 500,000 sats. It's all based on the amount of data there. So there's lots to know about it, but at the same time, it's very simple. You want to minimize your UTXOs for the future. Microdose says, well done bringing people from YouTube to Zapstream. Yeah, I figured it was a good day to do that. And it looks like we have, we're going to get a record amount of zaps today on Zapstream, which is awesome. I see Dan over in Zap.stream. Says, usually golfing this time of day, this time of year, but have to attend a funeral today. So I got to make the live show today. Good morning, Dan. Good to see you, my friend. And Microdose zapped 21 sats and Stephen Burns zapped 121 and 420 sats. Beautiful. We're going to hit a record there today. I knew it as soon as I woke up this morning. That was the goal for the day. Boyle Rowing says, what are they doing with the fee? I'm not sure what fee that is. ETF fee? Probably paying themselves pretty well. Financial advisors, man. They've really made a career off of, there are good financial advisors out there who really care about their clients, and they're probably actually more common than not. But there's a lot of greasy human beings that made a living off of being a financial advisor, pushing people into products, tricking people, being very non-transparent with people. And they made a whole career off of that. And they get paid very well, very well. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It's not for me. I had the opportunity coming right out of college to work for Investors Group. And I know that if I took that job 10 years ago, I would be 10x, 100x wealthier than I am today. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It didn't sit with right with me. I knew that it wasn't for me. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because it kind of, the whole thing in a roundabout way led me to this point. Oh, the Bitcoin fee for the mempool. Good question. Let's take a quick look at that. Crypto Heathen says, what is the zap record? I don't know. I think it was either Kieran or Fiat Jeff zapped 4,200 sats one day in here. So we got a little bit of work to do. The goal here is 11,111 sats today. But I think we're going to do it. We're trending towards that way. Vegan Bitcoiner is in the chat as well. Good morning. Let's look at the mempool here quickly. So I'll show you what happens with the fee. Every time you send a Bitcoin transaction, there's a fee on it. And if you're sending Bitcoin right now, you're paying way too much. But look at this. Let's look at this block here. Zoom into this. So this is block 846,986, and it was mined by Antpool. But every time there's a block mined, the company or the person who mined that block gets the subsidy and the fees. That's their reward for mining the block. That's the reward for putting enough energy into the Bitcoin network and having enough guesses at the equation that they get rewarded for that. So the more power you put into it, the more guesses you can make, and the higher your chances are of solving the next block. So in this case, they got 6.316 Bitcoin, which seems like a lot compared to what they were getting yesterday. But that pretty much comprises of, not pretty much, it does comprise of the block subsidy, which is 3.125 Bitcoin every block. That's the subsidy. That's what the miners get, regardless of the amount of fees. But then they also take the fees off of everybody's transactions there. So in this case, they got 3.19 Bitcoin worth 227,000 US dollars, plus the subsidy of 3.125 Bitcoin for a total of 6.316 Bitcoin, 450,000 bucks to Antpool, or 6.3 Bitcoin. So that's where the fees go to. They go towards the miners. And if we look at, new block, F2 pool got that one. But if we look at a block from yesterday where fees were much lower, I'll show you the difference here. So keep in mind here, this Ant pool, they got, F2 pool got 6.42 or 492 Bitcoin. 6.4 Bitcoin, that's what they got for this one. And then yesterday, sorry for the eyes here, I'm sure this is going to hurt somebody's head. But yesterday, the fees were about 34 sats per VByte, and the miner only made 3.4 Bitcoin. So that's the impact that the transaction fees have. When they're high, the miners get paid very well for it. When they're low, not so much. And another thing to keep in mind here is that this seems really high. The fees are really high, and they got paid 6.49 Bitcoin. very high. But not even 2 short months ago today, every miner was getting that amount. Every miner was getting 6.25 Bitcoin, I think it was. 6.25 Bitcoin plus the transaction fees every block. So that's kind of the halving, the impact of the halving is that 2 months ago, every single miner got 6.25 Bitcoin plus the transaction fees. And then 2 months later, they're only getting that amount when the fees are extraordinarily high. So there's a bit of info on the fees. Yeah. Crypto Ethan says any profession focused solely on manipulating money is full of slime balls. I agree. I agree with that. And Vegan Bitcoiner says, during a recent town hall, I asked the CIO and the CEO of a VP of our financial services firm, major Canadian, and they all categorized Bitcoin as gambling. Yeah, okay, yeah, gambling. If that's gambling, then I would be a lot richer than that. I gamble on golf, and if we go to the casino, sometimes I'll spend like $100 on gambling. My career gambling is probably about 2% loss, 98%, or 2% wins, 98% loss. That's gambling for me in real life. Bitcoin is not gambling. Bitcoin is essentially at this point inevitable. So Vegan Bitcoiner also says, what tool do you use for live stream? I use StreamYard. And if anybody is considering starting their own channel or starting their own show, send me an email. I'll get you the referral code for it. I think you save like $30 off your first membership or something. But StreamYard works very well. It goes to YouTube, it goes to Zap.stream, and I get 3 pathways for that, 3 platforms that it goes to. I think you can pay more to have a further reach, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. My Path to Fire says, does it cost much more to move sats from Lightning back on chain? Yes, it does. Just think of anytime you're dealing with Lightning, you're basically just taking Bitcoin off of layer 1, putting it into a pool on layer 2 Lightning, and that's where it goes back and forth. And then when that channel closes, or you want to convert it back to Bitcoin, you have to pay a fee again to bring it back onto layer 1. So you initially take it off layer 1, you pay the fees for that. And then when you bring it back onto Lightning, or onto layer 1, sorry, you pay a fee for that. So it does cost money. And that's why you kind of have to really pay attention to where fees are at and have some things in place where if you need to spend Bitcoin and fees are 300 sats per VByte, you can just use Lightning for that. Yeah, Daddio says, the old system folks want everybody to think it's gambling. Meanwhile, they're loading their bags, like Jamie Demon. 100%. 100%. Where's the next one here? Just a couple comments I wanted to bring up here, and I forgot the daily block reward this morning, but that's okay. So this is a comment from Dark Lord JMac. Dark Lord JMac says, I started stacking in 2017 and finally hit 100 million sats last November. It took 7 years. So I wanted to bring that up as an example today, because that's kind of been one of the themes we've been talking about on the show lately, is just having a very long-term lens with everything. I said 4 or 5 years you should be setting your goals for. In this case, it was 7 years. So keep in mind there that stay patient. Just keep working, earn as much as you can, convert that into Bitcoin, and just use the compounding effect, consistency year after year, and be patient with it. This guy, it took 7 years for him to hit 1 Bitcoin, starting in 2017 when the prices were fairly low. So if you're somebody who's new to Bitcoin, don't rush it. Just set yourself up in a way where you can earn as much Bitcoin as you possibly can, add as much value to other people. utilize tools like Zap.stream, like Nostr, Fountain App, Club Bitcoin, ShakePay. Just they add up. And you would be amazed how they add up. I'm going to show you here. I think I shared this last week too, but in our Living in the Future community that we have, we've been doing a challenge called 100 sats for 100 days for 100K. So the idea there is we're going to try to go 100 days straight of earning at least 100 sats per day from various avenues: Fountain, Nostr, Club Bitcoin, Hey Apollo. There's some Zebedee games on there, ShakePay, Zap.stream, and I've been tracking mine on here. And I'll share how much we've had. We're on day 17 or 18 now, I think. But I'll share with you how much it adds up to. So in 17 days, this is not free. This isn't free Bitcoin, but it's essentially like kind of free. The more value you add, obviously, the higher this amount's going to be. But 60,000 sats in 17 days. And that's actually net too, because I take all of my, every day it costs me money to stream on Zap.stream. So I actually take those sats out of this amount. So that's the net amount, not the gross amount. 60,000 sats. There's a couple of days in Zap.stream where they were negative. But then, you know, the next day, and then today's days like today, it makes up for it. So 60,000 sats. So keep in mind there that just keep at it, keep working at it, get as many of these different avenues that you can earn Bitcoin from, and fiat, which you can convert into Bitcoin. But get as many of those different avenues as you can, be consistent with it. And I would recommend tracking it, honestly, because when you earn free sats, when they go into your app, you kind of just forget that they're there. But if you look at it over time through your different avenues, then you can also see which ones are making you the most money. So an example would be in my spreadsheet that I have here, Club Bitcoin. I haven't been doing it a lot, but I've only made 41 sats out of 60,000. So obviously I'm not going to spend too much of my time in Club Bitcoin, which is a solitary game for Bitcoin. So it really gives you a good indication of where you should be putting your time. And I mean, it's just pretty cool to look and see how quickly things really add up there. And my Path to Fire says, keep buying a little each week, provide value, and the sats will flow. 100%. That's our favorite quote from Earl, that the amount of rewards you receive in life is directly correlated with the amount of value that you provide to others in life. Next question here is PSH, yeah. So, yeah. I think that's what that means. What's the best place to get Bitcoin besides buying using dirty fiat, of course? Really good question. So he's looking for some ways, and I should have actually asked this question before showing you that, but that's the best way to do it. Just spend some time this weekend and look into these different resources. Consider joining the Living in the Future community, because we have a group chat in there specifically for earning Bitcoin and finding new ways to earn Bitcoin. But if you're buying Bitcoin, I would say if you're in Canada, the best place to be buying Bitcoin without a doubt is Bull Bitcoin. And if you don't have an account there, I would strongly suggest you get one. And even if you use a different exchange for a while, keep Bull Bitcoin in your back pocket, because I think that as we go through this bull run, there's going to be exchanges that go down for a while, exchanges that go down for maintenance, exchanges that get in trouble from the government. I don't see Bull Bitcoin being in that party. So Bull Bitcoin for sure, that's the best place to get Bitcoin in Canada here. And if you need a referral, it's in the show notes below. I think you get $20 for free using that link, but just get an account, start using Bull Bitcoin. But other than that, just find ways to earn Bitcoin. That could be, like I mentioned here, Fountain. Fountain's so underrated. All you have to do is get the Fountain app, set up a profile. Even if you've watched the Daily Bitcoin Journey in the morning, you attended the live show, just turn it on at night or during supper time and turn the volume down and earn free sats. Absolute no-brainer. Nostr, get on there. Talk about whatever you love talking about, whatever you can provide value to for other people. Get onto Nostr and start talking about it. Share pictures. Just take pictures throughout your day, and then you get home, spend half an hour to an hour posting pictures with some context to them, and you will find a community there. You'll find like-minded people, and they might even give you some Bitcoin for it. ShakePay or Fold app, absolute no-brainer. I use ShakePay for all of my purchases through Personal or King Golf. One purchase last week earned me 10,000 sats. So instead of like airline miles or cash back through your credit card, if you hook up a ShakePay or a Fold Visa, I actually earn a percentage of every purchase back in sats. Why wouldn't you? Zap.stream. I mean, not for everybody, but if you have something that you want to talk about, somebody emailed me last week asking, said their brother's going to start doing a Zap.stream and just playing guitar every morning, teaching people to play guitar every morning and playing a couple songs on there. I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's much better than YouTube because YouTube's so saturated for one, but also nobody can send you sats over on YouTube. So far this morning, oh, we got another zap here from Boyle Roaming, 21 sats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. On Zap.stream this morning, we're at 3,345 sats. Pretty impressive, and that's from like 10 different people as well. So it doesn't take much; it just takes some initiative, and I very much appreciate that over in Zap.stream. Thank you, everybody. Silver Fox says, "How do I get in the group chat? Can't find it." Just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me, and I'll point you in the right direction for there. I don't want to give away the info on the internet because it's slightly filtered there. You have to. Got to keep out the spam. James Bond, good Friday, my friends of the realm. How we doing, brother? How we doing? Chico in the van, you can turn all your spare change into Bitcoin at a Coinstar machine. Yeah, that's another really good way to get non-KYC sats. There's a bunch of Bitcoin ATMs, including Lightning ones now, and it's just going to get more and more as we go forward here. So I keep all my spare change. If I got like a couple dollars in my pocket or a couple of quarters, I throw it into a little glass jar or a mason jar. And then once it fills up, I just take that and exchange it for Bitcoin. It's not hard. Stuff isn't hard. You just got to do it. You just got to be consistent with it. No secret remedies there. Oh, that's Zombie. Says that was my brother who I'm trying to convince to start playing guitar on the Zap.stream. I didn't know that was you. Sorry, I saw the email the other day. I went to respond to it, but I was like, who the heck is this guy? So yes, Jose, reach out to me. It's not very hard. If you can learn how to set up an account on Zapstream, you should be able to send or set up a live stream as well. It's pretty easy. A couple things to know, but pretty easy for the most part. Okay, next question here. Oh, this is just another comment here that I wanted to share. This is from Hey JV. Says, I've been accumulating as much as possible since February of last year. I sold my retirement fund, sold my car, and after getting into real estate, decided I would rather have Bitcoin, so I sold my duplex. Best decisions I've ever made. Why is that hard to say? Well, there's a deer in the yard. Little baby one. We don't have time. It's just a deer. If it was a bunny or a fox, then I'd spend some time here. So sold retirement fund, the car, real estate. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who have done that, including myself. And although I don't recommend going that big, that fast, once you get into Bitcoin, once you understand Bitcoin and you realize how the old system is it's literally a complete illusion. It's propped up, it's controlled, it's manipulated, it's a complete illusion. And once you get to that point, you want to get out of that system as fast as you possibly can. I've been through that. I didn't sell my car. My car's paid off, although it costs a shitload to insure it and keep it on the road. But at the same time, my car's paid off, so I'm going to probably keep that car forever, honestly. I'm going to get an old truck to have as like a backup. And I sold my rental house as well. So I went through that exact same thing. I paid a lot of fees on my retirement fund to cash it out to buy Bitcoin, but haven't regretted it one day. I think when I was buying it then, it was like the all-time high. So that's the part that I regret, is just not waiting a little bit more to buy it. Adrian, good morning. That's Saudi crap. I learned yesterday that is good morning. In Thai, is that what it is? Thai? I don't know. Silver Fox also sold a rental. I mean, why wouldn't you? When you understand that you want to get out of that system as fast as you possibly can. And you know, that's what you should be doing. If you still have a lot of capital in the old system, that should be your number one priority right now, is just slowly finding ways to get out of that system. You'll probably pay some fees, you'll probably pay some taxes, but at the end of the day, the further you can get out of that system, the better. And that's that was one thing I wanted to mention today, but I lost it within my notes. There's a guy talking about here. I'll read it here. I think I was on Nostr actually, but I'm sure you guys have seen that video. It was kind of going viral this morning of the guy in his car talking about his $700 bill from the IRS. And somebody here shared the video and they quote tweeted it. And this is what they said. Find any little way you can to help speed this thing up. People have suffered long enough. No more old systems, no more governments, no more fiat, like now. Hyper Bitcoinization this summer, no more cycles, the dollar dies, no peaceful revolution over the next decade. I'm on camp, accelerate. The faster, the better. Anything anyone can do, no matter how small, find ways to speed this thing up. ASAP. That's from Greeny over on Nostr. I'm going to give him a follow for that. I couldn't agree more. And I don't expect it to happen because I kind of understand how long things take. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing absolutely everything that we can today. Anything, no matter how small it is. Whether that's going from YouTube to Zap.stream, I would consider that to be making progress here. Taking $20, buying Bitcoin today, that is progress here today. Instead of watching Netflix tonight, go outside, play some golf, play some disc golf, whatever you need to do. I would consider that moving away from the old system. Just do a bunch of those every single day, slowly. And I made this analogy when I first started this channel, and it's still my favorite analogy. But I want you to think about, we have two buckets here. This bucket is the old system here, this hand. This bucket here is the new system, the Bitcoin. Every single day, you don't want to dump it all in there at once, but every single day, take a couple drops of your energy, of your time, your capital from the old system, from that bucket, and put it into the new system. And if we all do that, the compounding effect here, the way that the exponential growth works, if we slowly do that, everybody slowly move from the old system into the new system, that's how we push this thing forward. Just slowly, one day at a time, one drop at a time. Start moving your life, your capital, your time, your energy into the new system. My path to fire says it's bad enough that they inflate the money, but the debt part is worst. Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. It's absolutely insane that we're still allowing that system to keep running. It's so big, it's so fat. It can't be taken down all in one shot. It's death from 1,000 cuts. Same kind of thing. It's what you need to do. It's like the final boss. It's the final boss. You're not going to take one shot at him and he dies. You got to just keep slicing. I think of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back on Nintendo in the 90s. You can't kill it in one shot. It's just a bunch of people doing it over and over and over and over again. And then finally they just go. Boyle Roaming says, my only concern is the government tries to stop us to use our Bitcoin to exchange for goods or products. How? How could they do that? They would have to shut down every single exchange. They would have to shut down every single wallet in every app store in every country, or turn off the internet in every world for that to happen. Could it happen? Yes. Is it likely to happen? No. So don't worry about that. Don't focus on that stuff. Don't worry about the why it's not going to work. Focus on why it's going to work. Because there's literally nothing that can stop this train right now. And the more coal that we pile on it, the faster it's going to go and the faster we can get out of this fucking system. That was the first swear word of the week. My Path to Fire says, great analogy. The Bitcoin system is so much fun and exciting too. The metal scene is very sad and disaster, folks. I couldn't agree more with that. I wonder why I never really resonated too much with like the precious metals crew. They're all just focused on like the world ending and everybody's going to be in a doomsday scenario, roaming the earth, eating dead rats with their silver in their pocket. Like Bitcoin is going to be in a function. I'm betting on a functioning society. I don't know what it's going to look like getting to that point, but eventually humans will figure it out and we're going to live in a functioning society. And Bitcoin is the best tool for that, without a doubt. You can send it anywhere on earth for 0 fees pretty much if you know how to do it. Sounds like I'm getting mad here, but I'm really not. I'm just fired up. I want this thing to move faster, but I understand that it's going to take time. But we still can have an impact on this. We still can have an impact on this. And I'll see if we have any more questions. If not, oh, there's one more question here. This is from Quad Tap. I love the names on YouTube. It says, I have a hardware device that only gives the option to generate 24-word seeds, but I would like to use a 12-word seed with it. I'm thinking about using a different hardware wallet to create a truly random 12-word seed and then importing it into a device. To create a truly random 12-word seed and then importing it into the device that will provide me with a 24-word seed. I will also be using a fairly robust passphrase. I mean, makes sense to me, I guess. It seems like a lot of extra steps. Just get a cold card, set up a 24-word seed, add a passphrase. That's it. You're done. The most secure device you'll have. You don't have to worry about importing, exporting, different wallets. Get a cold card, put like, depending on how much Bitcoin you have, this is what I would do. I would get a cold card. Let's say that you have 1 Bitcoin. That's how much you're storing here. I would get a cold card. I would create a 24-word private key just because I'm more familiar with it. I got the knowledge here. I know how to protect it. I'm going to be very careful with writing my words down, putting it onto a steel plate. I'm going to go with the 24 words. I put about 1% or 2% of that Bitcoin, so 2 million sats, I put into that wallet. The rest, I set up a passphrase, which creates a new wallet. I move the 98% of my Bitcoin into the backup one, the 24 word with a passphrase. You keep your 24 words in one spot. You either memorize your passphrase. I would suggest writing it down somewhere where your family can also access it and let them know that that's a thing there, because If you think about it, and I think about this stuff all the time, but if I went through all that trouble and I set up my passphrase, my 24 words, moved all my Bitcoin into it, my family finds my 24 words if something happened to me, and then they think that I had only 2 million sats. And they have no idea that I have a passphrase behind that with 98 million sats on the other side of that. So if you do go through that route of setting up a passphrase, make sure you write it down somewhere, not just memorize it. Keep it separate from your backup phrase, but write it down and make sure you notify your family that exists. And actually, there's a couple people, we're working on an inheritance thing here. And we're going to have more information on that, but we're basically going to give you all this instruction. We're going to give you a nice piece of paper that you can either leave with your lawyer at the bank or just keep private at your house. But it's going to give your family members all the information, including that, like a passphrase. Because I think the biggest problem in Bitcoin right now, honestly, we worry about the ETFs, we worry about the government. The biggest problem with Bitcoin right now is that I would say 95% of Bitcoiners are not ready for what's coming. Whether they don't have it stored properly, whether they haven't communicated their security process well enough with their family, all that stuff. I would say at least 95% of Bitcoiners are not prepared for what's coming. So we're going to try to help people with that. We're not really ready to launch yet or announce too much on it, but it's going to be a very reasonably priced service that I think a lot of people are going to benefit from here in this community. Shout out to My Path to Fire for the 100 sat zap. Thank you. And Crypto Ethan says, in a Mad Max world, pew metals will be more valuable than precious metals. Yes, that is true. And that's one of the famous things that people have in their heads about Bitcoin is that, what if the power goes out? What if the power goes out? That's their number one thing. Okay, well, put yourself in that scenario of a Mad Max world. The power goes out. If the power went out, first of all, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How are you going to get in touch with your family? So keep that in mind and make sure you're putting things in place to prepare for that happening. But at the same time, who's going to accept anything? If the power goes out, they're not going to say, well, the power has gone out for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, we're going to turn the power back on. The internet will come back on. No, they're not going to do that. The power is going to go out. Everybody's going to be like absolute panic mode. And we're not going to have any idea when the power is going to come back on. So do you think that you're going to sell your food and your water and your lead for silver or gold? Who would do that? Power goes out. I'm not going to exchange a sandwich for 5 ounces of gold because I don't know when the power is going to come back on. And I value food at that point much more than I value your gold coins. So that argument there, that whole theory that precious metal people have about their gold and silver will hold up in a Mad Max world, no, it won't. Food and water will, and lead. Bitcoin won't, but neither will gold and silver. But in a functioning society, Bitcoin is 1,000 times better than gold and silver combined. And if you don't believe me, just ask BlackRock. Yeah, Peter Schiff disagrees. That's okay. I'm fine with that. James Bond says, Antonopoulos does not promote complicating the 2412 word entropy. I don't think you should complicate it either. Just get a device, get the words, set up a passphrase. I mean, you kind of get to that point over time. Don't do that on day one being in Bitcoin. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of options too. I think the BitKey is one if you don't really trust yourself or your family to look after your Bitcoin and be able to restore it. But yeah. Boom Me says they won't turn off the power. Local people coming together to solve problems is the last thing they want. I agree. I subscribe to that theory as well. But although you have to keep in mind here that this is an election year, 2024, we're running out of time before the election. And as each day passes and no catastrophic event has happened yet, I get more and more concerned. So the only thing that you can do there, I think, is just be prepared as best you can. Don't worry about it. Don't be anxious about it. Just prepare the best you can. Get your Bitcoin into self-custody. Have a plan in place with your family members, a meeting place or a muster point, as they call it. And then don't worry about it. It's going to play out like it's going to play out. Microdose BTC says, what do you think about Ledger hardware wallet? Never. Never. My question is, why would you use a Ledger? There are so many options out there, and there's so many better options than a Ledger. And it's not like the cold card costs much. Like, what's a Ledger cost? $200? Cold card's like $300, I think. You don't plug it into a laptop. They don't run updates without telling you about it. That gives up your private key to companies that they're in bed with. Ledger, never Ledger. Maybe that's what we'll change the show to be called. Instead of the Daily Bitcoin Journey, we'll call it Never Ledger. Ninja says, what's your opinion on the BlackRock situation? They literally will finish all Bitcoin available. Yeah, they will. If we let them. If we sell our Bitcoin to them, they will get all the Bitcoin. Because they have unlimited capital. They want the price to be high. And yesterday's show focused on that 100%. I said that BlackRock is so desperate to get Bitcoin, and we're going to get so low on Bitcoin supply that they're going to have three options. Number one is going to be run up the price so they tempt Bitcoiners to sell their Bitcoin. Number two is going to be make living so expensive that Bitcoiners are forced to sell their Bitcoin to avoid being insolvent. And the third one's they're just going to steal it. They're going to either get in bed with the government if they're not already and come after people's Bitcoin. So you have to be prepared for that. But at the same time, they only own, I think, 1% of Bitcoin right now. 1 or 2%, I think. Maybe a little bit more combined. But they have a very long ways to be really meaningful in Bitcoin. And that Bitcoin's only going to come from us, from Bitcoiners. I think 20% or more is probably going to be lost in the next 10 years, at least 20%. So then that's down to, it's up to us. We're the ones who have the power here, and we just need to use it properly. Noah says, instead of Ledger, maybe Jade or Seed Signer. I think Odell actually had a really good analogy for the Seed Signer the other day. So Seed Signer is basically like a bunch of parts you put together. It's truly random. I think it's the most like random way to generate your 12 words. But he basically used the analogy that he believes in both cold card and Seed Signer. And he used the analogy of like being able to print a 3D print a gun, essentially. And he compared that to the Seed Signer. So he said that he supports having those tools available, like the Seed Signer, like the 3D gun printing. But at the same time, if you can just go down to the store and buy one that's already put together that works just as well, if not better, then why wouldn't you take that route? And that's why I think the Jade or the cold card versus the Seed Signer, if you're in a country where you can't get a cold card, then yeah, absolutely build a Seed Signer, generate your own 12 words and use that. But for the average person, I don't think that they're in a position to do that. Silver Fox says, is there a Zap.stream app? No, unfortunately, there's not. And that's, I think, the one thing that I'm really looking forward to is an app for Zap.stream. That'll be the next thing. Because I like watching shows on my phone while I work. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm saying here. Muslim Bitcoiner says, Seed Signer is an option if all governments ban hardware manufacturers. Exactly. So What are we at here? Holy, 115. Okay, was there anything else that I wanted to touch on today? I don't know. Let's give a big shout out to everybody on Zap.stream for, I don't know if we hit a record today, but we did pretty damn good. So we got Zombie, we got Boyle Roaming, we got Steven Burns, we got Microdose, we got Aha Kelks, Dan, Zombie, Yandoer, My Path to Fire, Silver Fox, Noah, Ted, and Daniel. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Zombie says in caps, go outside, play golf, exit the system. Yes, I'm actually going to play some golf today. Oh, look at this. My Path to Fire says I'm watching an Amethyst app. That's interesting. I've never used the Amethyst app, but I've actually heard a lot of good things about it. And if you can watch Zap.stream on Amethyst, I'm definitely going to put that on my to-do list for the weekend. I don't even have my notepad here to write it down. Next millionaire is in this chat. Yeah, keep that in mind. The system is going to flip on its head, and the people who are in power, in control, are not going to be forever. It's going to be the Bitcoiners. So a couple things I would say. I've already said thanks to Zap.stream. I also very much appreciate everybody in YouTube chat for being here. Consider making the jump over to Zap.stream next week for a show. It's part of it. It's part of moving from the centralized system like YouTube over to Zap.stream. The only reason I'm still on YouTube is because there's a lot of new Bitcoiners coming into the space, and I want to make sure that they have some sort of sensible voice talking to them. But eventually, if we can move totally over to Zap.stream, cut YouTube out of the equation, that would be best case scenario. So consider that. Consider joining the Zap.stream next week for a show. Setting up your wallet on there, you can zap back and forth with comments, share links. There's no ads on there. And it's a beautiful thing. Really is. What else did I have here? Anything? I don't know. We should give a quick shout out to a couple sponsors of the show here. The first one is Juxtapose, Bitcoin company. They sell t-shirts. Eric sells t-shirts, hats, mugs. Gonna have some King Golf stuff on there as well. You can check them out. Juxtaposestore.com, I think. Let me find it here quickly. I just haven't given Eric a shout out for a while, so I figured now would be the time to do so. And I'm sure this is going to use all of my broadband. So if I go down, we're going to blame Eric for this one. So this is the store. It's called Juxtapose.store. There you go. Designed in Chicago. Eric's a great dude. I've talked with him quite a bit in the last little while. So you got the Nostrich, the Nostr tea, the mini Bitcoin Cola tea. I think Letha has the bigger version of that one. And there's a bigger version there. I love this t-shirt. This is the next one I'm going to buy. I love this. Purple, dark purple, and orange. And I think you'd get a lot of looks if you wore that in public, but that's part of it. That's why we do it. Because if you happen to see another Bitcoiner in the wild and you're wearing a Bitcoin t-shirt, it might strike up a conversation, and nobody knows where that conversation is going to lead to. Bitcoin Cola, and here's my shirt that I have, the 21 million Ghost Tee. Love that. It's like a green olive gray charcoal with 21 million. A little more subtle and just a good design. So check that out. You can actually pay with Lightning on there. And if you use the code 88SATS, you can save 10%, I believe. It's in the show notes below. So that's it for today. Q&A done. 22nd edition. It's Friday. It's a beautiful day. That's it. Appreciate everybody. Thanks everybody for the zaps over in Zap.stream. If you're not on Zap.stream and you feel like sending some value over to the show, you can also find my Wallet of Satoshi address in the description. There's been a few people who have done that recently, and I appreciate that. Make sure you let me know who it's coming from, so I can give you a shout out on the show as well. I think that's it. Also, the living in the future tier. If you're a Bitcoiner, if you're feeling pretty alone, you don't have anybody to talk to, ask questions to, share ideas with, consider joining the Living in the Future tier. You can click below. It says Living in the Future. There's a link there. You can try it for 7 days. You can cancel it anytime. It's $5 a month. I am actually going to change it today to be a higher price. So if you get in this morning, you're going to get a pretty good price for it. If you wait till this afternoon, it's going to be double. But that's part of it. The people who are here early in Bitcoin and in the chat in the community are going to be rewarded for that. So great place to hang out with other Bitcoiners, share ideas, share resources. And the faster you can build your Bitcoin network, the faster you can exit the fiat system. Once you can start buying and selling things with other Bitcoiners, once you can start exchanging your time for Bitcoin, and just building a network of Bitcoiners, then you can just leave the old system because there's no use for it at that point. So consider that. TGIF is right. I might have an afternoon beer on the golf course today. So have yourselves an amazing weekend. I very much appreciate everybody here in the chat for all the zaps and for the questions. We'll see you right back here first thing Monday morning. Bye-bye.